We always hear the terms locker chemistry, team morale, or even just confidence. But what does it all really mean? And how do we even know it exists?
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Because we as fans hear about it, but unless you're in the actual locker room or maybe a part of the organization, we can't truly understand it. As we've seen it firsthand, how it can directly change the success of a team, because we've seen teams destined for greatness fail, and amazing underdog stories of teams who are fueled by chemistry and confidence. And with that being said, there's been many cases of an NHL team who lost a star player and was more successful even when losing a franchise piece. Because whether them wanting to leave negatively affected team morale, or perhaps they were just a locker room cancer, one player can single-handedly have a massive ripple effect on the success of a team. So today's video, we're gonna go over teams who succeeded even when losing a star player. So comment down below if your team has ever lost a star player and what type of ripple effect did it have. And press subscribe for some more awesome hockey content. Let's get straight into this video. We will start with Marian Hossa. Drafted by Ottawa 12th overall, Hossa had a very long and respectable career, as he developed into a star in Ottawa and then was a part of a blockbuster deal that sent all-star Danny Healy to the Senators, and Hossa would join the Thrashers. And at this point, Hossa would once again elevate his game, as he put up a career-high 92 points in 2006 and then 100 points in 2007. However, all the teams Hossa was on were not true competitors. And so for the Thrashers who feared Hossa going to free agency, they would instead make a blockbuster deal with the Penguins, which included picks and high-end prospects. And so finally, Hossa was on a prime team ready to win the cup, with the likes of Sidney Crosby, Malkin, Sergei Gonchar, and of course, the Wit Dog. And with this wagon of a team, the Penguins would go all the way to the finals, but unfortunately, they would lose to the Red Wings. So in the offseason, as a pending UFA, Marian Hossa would be offered an extension worth $50 million over 7 years, which was a monster contract in 2009. However, in a crazy turn of events, Hossa would turn down this contract and join the Red Wings in hopes of winning a cup with the defending champions. And so, in a cruel fate, the Pittsburgh Penguins, with added depth from not signing Hossa, would defeat Detroit in Game 7. And they did this even after failing to sign Hossa, who was a top 10 talent in the league. And a big part of the Penguins' win was the fact that they had more depth to win the cup, on top of them not having to deal with more salary cap restrictions in the future. Now I will say, fortunately for Hossa, he would later sign with the Hawks and get his cup. But at this time, it was a massive case of karma. Next, we have John Tavares. Drafted first overall in 2009, Tavares was set to be the franchise player for the Islanders, as he was putting up uncanny numbers in junior and was seen as the next great player in the NHL. And for just shy of a decade, Tavares was exactly that. He didn't quite hit the potential many thought he would, but he did have many dominant seasons on a team who didn't have the best complementary pieces. So fast forward to 2018. The New York Islanders have failed to make the playoffs 2 years in a row. And during Tavares' 9-season tenure, they only really had one legitimate playoff push, where they lost in the second round in 2016. Which in turn did create a pretty big debate, as many people thought Tavares was having his talent wasted because of poor management. So heading into the 2018 offseason, Tavares had yet to sign an extension, as he did make it public that he was resigning with the Islanders, but was going to make his final decision in the offseason. And to many surprise, Tavares would sign a monster extension with the Leafs worth $77 million. And because of this, in losing their franchise player, the Islanders were expected to be forced into a complete rebuild, especially because they were committed to re-signing him, and so they weren't able to trade him, and they wouldn't receive any assets in this transaction. So heading into the 2018-2019 season, the Islanders were expected to be a bottom team in the NHL. However, with a great system in place, the Islanders would actually shock the hockey world as they make the playoffs without Tavares and end their playoff drought. And this year, in a completely shocking fashion, the Islanders actually ended up having a better season than the Leafs, which is honestly mind-blowing considering that Toronto's star power completely blows New York's star power out of the water. But this was really just an example of high team morale. And I'm not saying by any means that Tavares was bringing down morale, but when he finally does leave, it really forced the team to come together. Next, we have Subban, who's perhaps the most polarizing player in the entire NHL. Because whether it was overly eccentric celebrations, massive turnovers, or dressing room issues, for years there's been many rumors surfacing about Subban's time in Montreal. Now I personally am a big fan of Subban, but there are many stories that I've heard that just make you shake your head. But regardless, Subban was a big time player who had a massive personality. And so in the summer of 2016, Marc Bergevin would drop a bombshell, as he previously stated that he was not shopping Subban, but would trade him 1-for-1 for Shea Weber. And at the time, many declared Nashville the obvious winner, and that Bergevin was foolish for trading away Subban for an aging veteran. However, in Subban's final season in Montreal, there were clear issues in the locker room, as there's been many reports and rumors that he really brought the team's morale down due to selfish play and off-ice habits. And because of this, the Canadiens would also finish at the bottom of the standings, even though they were expected to be a competitive team. And so right after this quote-unquote foolish trade, Montreal would snap back into form, and they'd actually take first place in the Atlantic Division, which just goes to show how improving locker room chemistry can drastically improve a team's success. And today more than ever, the separation on who won this trade is even more apparent, because Subban's game has been non-existent in New Jersey, and Shea Weber before the pause was having his best season in a Montreal uniform. But what do you guys think? Did Subban really have a negative effect on the team's success? Or was it just a fluke that the team drastically improved after Subban left the team? Let me know. Next, we have the Matt Duchene saga. Drafted 3rd overall in 2009, Matt Duchene was an elite skating playmaker with first-line upside. And Duchene would quickly establish himself as exactly that. 24 goals, 55 points in his rookie season, and then 67 points in his sophomore year. And over the course of 9 seasons, Duchene would be a franchise piece for Colorado. However, during those 9 years, the Avalanche would actually only make the playoffs twice. And Matt Duchene, heading into his prime, was getting frustrated. Because honestly, it just made no sense, as Colorado would have Nathan MacKinnon, Duchene, Landeskog, Mikko Rantanen, yet they had countless disappointing finishes, including the 2016-2017 season where Colorado would finish 22-56 for a total of 48 points, which is one of the worst records in the modern NHL era, which obviously caused a lot of frustration in the dressing room, because for a team who had so much firepower, they would fail year after year to be an actual contender, which caused Matt Duchene to say he had enough, and so he submitted a trade request, stating he wanted playoff hockey and to be on a winning team. So November 5th, 2017, Joe Sakic would pull up a blockbuster deal, as Colorado would send Matt Duchene to the Senators, and in return they received prospects and a first-round pick that turned out to be the 4th overall pick in the 2019 NHL draft, which they used to draft Bowen Byram. And as for Matt Duchene, he would unfortunately join a Senators team that was a tire fire, as they were dealing with a slew of drama from the ownership side, Ubers, team conflict, and of course their 2 superstars in Mark Stone and Erik Karlsson wanting to leave the team. Because on the flip side, the Avalanche would come back into form. MacKinnon would solidify himself as a superstar, and the Avs would return to the playoffs without Duchene in the same season. Because today, the Avalanche are a top contending team in the entire NHL, who would actually benefit from shedding Duchene's cap space. And lastly, we will end with Karl Alzner. Now, I wouldn't consider Alzner a star by any means, but this story is priceless, as Karl Alzner was originally drafted 5th overall by the Washington Capitals, and over a 10-year span, Alzner would develop into a respectable top 4 defenseman. And during those 9 seasons, the Washington Capitals were famous for being a championship caliber team, winning President's trophies, but failing to make it past the Pittsburgh Penguins in the 2nd round. And no question, this would be extremely frustrating, as they had all the pieces to go all the way, but could just never make it over the hump. And so fast forward to 2017, the Capitals were starting to be criticized for not having enough youth and too many aging veterans. And so Karl Alzner would express his frustrations in the fact that he wanted to be on a contending team. And so he would sign a beefy contract with the Canadiens worth $23 million. And of course, this would be the season that Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals would finally make it over the hump, as they would defeat the Vegas Golden Knights and take home their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. And as for Carl Osner, who would join the Montreal Canadiens, they would fail to make the playoffs, and he would regress so much that he was sent down to the AHL. But anyways guys, has your team ever lost a star player? And if you have, what happened? And press subscribe for some more awesome hockey content. We are on the road for 20,000 subscribers, so let's crush it. I do plan on doing a pretty big giveaway for 20K. And on a side note, follow me on Twitter. It's a lot easier for me to do giveaways on Twitter, so stay updated there. Link will be down below. But anyways guys, I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys later. Next, we have a caseless iPhone. Well, good thing Red Zone Cases just released their Star Series 2.0. Besser, Petey, Horvat on one case? Are you kidding me? Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid. Get one of these beautiful cases today and use code RTH at checkout to receive 20% off your order. The link is in the description below.